All right. So we're here today with Shavontae McCants. She's a mental health specialist, and I am here today to interview her on the impact of finances and mental health. Um, so there's a significant impact when it comes to money and mental health today. So according to statistics, it's normal to be worried about money, of course, but according to a study by Northwestern Mutual Money, money is the number one source of stress for 44% of American adults. More than a quarter of those surveyed said that financial anxiety made them feel depressed at least monthly. So I just wanted to throw a stat out there for y'all. So I hope that put things into perspective. So Tay, my question to you is, as a mental health specialist, how do you feel that mental health and personal finances are linked together?
So, mental illness impacts all aspects of our life, and that includes finances. So, they're simply linked because they impact one another. So if you are having a mental health problem, you can have a hard time earning money, managing your money, or even spending your money. So, and, sometimes we get into we have a hard time asking for help when we're having difficulties, period. So, and finances is like that taboo topic that we don't talk about, as well as in some cultures, mental health is also that taboo topic. So it can be a vicious cycle when it comes to mental health and finances. Finance is the root, then it can create stress, anxiety, and depression, which then, we make irresponsible decisions. So it can just be a vicious cycle depending on, and it doesn't matter where it starts, whether it starts with a mental health issue or whether it starts with a financial issue, they are linked together. So, yeah.
Okay, so now that I have a basic understanding of how mental health is tied to personal finances, how would you say being in a financial difficult situation impact one's mental health?
Financial difficult situation can create stress, anxiety, and depression. And if we don't have income coming in, but we have bills to pay, that will cause someone definitely to stress or freak out. Having bills and collections. And so if we're suffering from like anxiety, we do things like avoid calling that collection agency or whatever to pay that bill because we just don't want to face it. The stress is too much on us. So I would say like ultimately financial difficulties can cause all type of things, just depending on the person.
Mm-hmm. Okay. People are being laid off left and right due to the coronavirus. Of the 367 million people in the US, there are roughly 120 million working members of society. Roughly 15% of our working force is currently unemployed. People applying for unemployment every day. This number has been increasingly drastically. How are the mass layoffs impacting mental health of our society?
I would say some people, some people say like, oh, they don't know who they are without their job. Sometimes their job is their identity, and we don't really know who we are outside what we do. So I think at this time, people are like sitting in their own thoughts and they're trying to figure out who they are. So we may see like a lot of identity crisis going on. We may see depression increase because of being isolated and not having that social, connection with others. And maybe like an increase of fear and anxiety due to, the fear, the unknown of the future. Some people may not have a job to go back to, after this is all over. There's people losing their jobs now, which, financially has made a huge impact on their finances and their family. I would say like the whole family system is impacted because, parents are stressed out and the children are able to see that, kids, their daily routine of going to school is impacted and how to stay home. And although we say, spending time with family is the most important thing, sometimes that job was our like escape to get away. And I can definitely see like relationship problems increasing, more arguments within, relationships, kids having issues with their parents. So everybody is going to probably within the family household, just everybody's going to go through some type of form of stress. So I think it's just important for us to all stay aware of each other and watch um, how one another is reacting to this crisis.
Right. That is a very interesting perspective. What are some signs or symptoms of depression or other potentially related mental illnesses that people can look for in themselves or loved ones?
So one thing you need to pay attention to is the drastic mood shifts. So if you have a person that's really like happy and they're like the life of the party and they're always smiling, and then all of a sudden, they're withdrawn or they isolate themselves or they just lose interest in the things that they enjoyed, those are signs of a depression. It's like loss of hope. Start paying attention to the things that they're saying. So some of the thoughts that or things people may say, like, what is the point? What is the point of me trying? What is the point of me living on? So just having that hopelessness thought process is something to really pay attention to. For anxiety, people have physical symptoms as well. They have, trembling, feeling nervous, feeling faint, feeling tired all of a sudden, and they're having trouble concentrating or thinking. So, and avoidance, that's a big one for anxiety. So just paying attention to those big shifts. As far as like when it comes to like finances though, people, what you would notice is people may increase in spending. And that's because they, this is one part of their life that they can control. This crisis that's going on right now, we can't control it. We have to isolate ourselves. So we feel like we're losing control of our lives. So one thing you may see is an increase in spending. And, with depression and anxiety, there is something called a money disorder. And you may see people developing or in the process of developing a money disorder. So the main thing is just pay attention to the drastic changes with your family and within yourself.
So you mentioned a money disorder. What exactly is a money disorder and how does it affect one's spending habits?
So a money disorder is basically like a chronic pattern of a financial behavior. So this is like not simple. This is not just that person that is bad at spending or bad with their money. This is that person that, gambles, that it impacts the relationship. It impacts their family household to a point where they're losing their houses or losing cars. This is a severe chronic disorder. So, and it's really self-destructive. So you may see, somebody like with a money disorder may have compulsive spending or, compulsive buying. They are trying to get that immediate gratification, that immediate rush, which is, they go shopping, they feel good, and then right after they're done, getting that, that feel good feeling, they basically fall off, they drop off, they feel remorse, they feel guilt. And then it's like really falling deeper into depression, and it's this continuous pattern. There's other money disorders as well, but the compulsive spending is probably one of the ones that we see the most. So yeah, it's just mainly our bodies trying to get that, then endorphins rushing, and our body produce that, and it's to ease pain and get instant gratification. But one thing that's good about this is that seeing a medical professional can treat this disorder. So yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know that these things can be seen by a medical professional, and this condition can be helped, and this condition can be reversed, and people can be helped, and you'll get over it eventually, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned healthcare and health professionals, due to this increased demand for healthcare and allied healthcare professionals, what are some self-help tools that one can use if they're experiencing any of those symptoms that you just mentioned?
So some self-help tools, definitely number one is try to exercise. Get get your heart rate up. I know when I exercise, I feel great after.
Mm-hmm.
My mood is in a better place. So, exercise is definitely one. Maybe some deep breathing, which may sound cliche, but is honestly the best way to calm anxiety. So by like breathing in for 5 seconds, holding it in for 3 seconds, and then breathe it out for 7 seconds. And this sends a message to your brain that everything is going to be okay. You know, everything's going to be fine. So it calms your body, calms your anxiety automatically. And then also like gaining some self-awareness about like just being aware of your emotions and the way you're feeling. Having that awareness is really important. So once you gain that awareness of where your emotions are, what's happening within your body, and during that time, you're able to tackle it. So just like gaining some awareness. During this time, since we're talking about finances, I would say like staying informed and educated with some good resources. There's two channels that I listen to. One of them is the Minority Mindset and Graham Stephan show. The Minority Mindset is not based on like race or anything. It's just basically like thinking differently, thinking outside the box than the rest of the population. But it's a real good financial education channel, as well as the Graham Stephan show. It's more about intentional living and wealth building, things like that. So just staying informed mainly, and also reading or listening to some self-help books. Right now I'm listening to You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. And this one is about like how to stop, doubting yourself, stop doubting your greatness, and living an awesome life. So just feeding your brain with positive and information. And another thing people can do is like journal, mental reframing. Basically, taking an emotion or a stressor that they're thinking of and thinking about it in a different way. That's a good thing to do. And then my last one that I like is the opposite to emotional thinking. So like if you're feeling upset and you have the urge to isolate yourself, do the opposite. Go hang out with somebody, get around people. If you're feeling anxious, the best way to combat that is like meditating. Do something that's going to stabilize you. So yeah, those are some self-help tools if you can't get to a medical professional or a therapist, something like that.
I think those are great. And if I heard you correctly, you said to exercise, to meditate, to read books, to seek out YouTube channels or some social media profiles that make you feel good about yourself and that are basically aligning with your intentional life that you're trying to live. So you just have to be the change that you really want to see.
Exactly.
You have to be it. Okay, good to know. Thank you for those tips. Those are good tips. Y'all better take a note of that. Okay, so since this is the Money Talk series, this is episode or session 3 of the Money Talk series. How do you project spending habits will be affected in individuals suffering from mental health disorders? And do you think that individuals will spend more money during this time, this pandemic, to cope?
It is a possibility that the habits may increase just because people are bored. Just because we can't go out and buy things doesn't mean we can't buy things online. We've kind of seen that with the crisis of everybody going out and buying a lot of tissue. And now it's kind of settled down where, we starting to see more tissue in the stores. But I think it just depends on the person. So if a person is dealing with like a money disorder, you definitely going to see an increase in their spending because this is a way for them to feel good. They're craving for those, those that happy feeling, that rush. And so, but I think it can be really dangerous too, because if they're bad with, that have bad credit card habits and they already abuse it, they're just creating more debt, which once this is all over, that's when, they can fall deep into depression or regret that they did spent all that money. It's definitely a possibility, and we also may see a decrease in spending, just depending, because we're trying to survive. We have bills to pay, things like that. So just depends on the person and the family.
Okay. Being as though people are teleworking and or not working during this time, with all the mass layoffs, people have more time on their hands. So with more time on people's hands, people have been, spending a significant amount of time on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a healthy coping mechanism?
I think it's important to have a balance. So, too much of anything can be bad for you. So I think it just, as long as, like I was talking about earlier, as long as people gain some awareness around how social media is impacting their mood, that's important to really understand, because if you're spending, you wake up happy, then you get on social media and you realize that your mood just went down, like now you're upset and you're snapping on people, within your household. Just having some awareness of how much social media, to like maybe how much social media you need before your mood start to shift. So I would say, like, once they have the understanding of where their mood shifts, like 1 to 2 hours, okay, this is too much, they are able to adjust how much time they're spending on social media. But I do think that all social media is not bad. It just depends on what people are engaging in on social media. So yeah, if we're engaged in positivity, it may be helpful for us during this time.
Right, right. So that's good to know. Did you guys hear that? Engage in positivity on social media if you're using it, and there are some pages that don't make you feel good about yourself or make you more depressed or feeling those symptoms of anxiety or depression. Unfollow them, block and delete ASAP. Okay. So, is there a way that social media can be used more effectively to aid those suffering from debilitating mental health conditions during this time?
Yes, I think if individuals are suffering from mental health disorder or illness, they can join groups where other people are having that same having issues with that same disorder or illness, and just get around others that are experiencing it, so they know that they're not alone in this. Some people think like, oh, I'm the only one that is suffering from this, or I'm alone. Just get into groups where you can gain relationships with other people, and also gain different perspectives of the disease or disorder, and gain other ways that to cope with it, because a lot of people do things differently, and one thing may work for one person but it may not work for the other. So I think just getting around people that suffers from the same illness, and having that community of individuals that understands you. And so yeah, I think it can be used in a positive way if we, join a group that's supportive of us.
Okay. So, considering money being a major issue, what are some activities that people can participate in to take their minds off of money? People don't want to think about not getting paid this month because of not being able to work.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think so. Money, yeah, during this time is a hard time. I mean, when you think about money, you're stressed out. But I think this is actually a perfect time for people to start planning, and better planning for future crisis, because this may not be the first time, this definitely will not be the last crisis we have. So I think it's important that now is the time to really educate self and have, like, plan for your family during this time. So maybe start investing, getting educated on what you can do to make sure your family is taken care of during these crises, and just period, building generational wealth. So it's time to really take a step back and look at what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and just figure out a way to prepare for these times, for the rough times. Um, it will be hard to take their minds off of money, but I think we can use this in a positive way of educating ourselves about money, understanding our relationship with money, because our relationship with money was rooted
Mm-hmm.
in how our parents viewed money. So I think it's important to just kind of analyze how we view money and analyze what we're doing within our families and start planning and preparing
Mm-hmm.
for our future generation, maybe building, generational wealth, things like that. That's what I'm doing. So I
Okay,
think it's important.
those are some good tips, and you provided some good resources. So that's the end of our questions, and I thank you for coming on and giving us your expertise today from a mental health perspective. I think these are all things that we all could use moving forward. And if you have any last comments, what is, something that you want to tell the world, like one last thing?
To take it a day at a time. Enjoy this time with your family, because when we're working, we you know, really don't have that time to spend with them. And I think these are the most important individuals in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and also figuring out who we are without all the outside, without our jobs, without all the
Mm-hmm.
outside pressure. So this is just a time to really reflect and to, stay patient and stay positive, and we'll all get through this one way or another. So,
I think that's amazing advice. And one last thing, where can people find you if they want to look you up or they want to shoot you a message if they're interested in booking a session with you or something like that? Where can they find you?
so you can find me at Shavontae at wellnesstogether.org. That is SHAVONTAE at wellnesstogether.org.
Mhm.
Or you can also shoot me a personal email at Shavontae McCants 2014 at Gmail.
Okay.
Um, so yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And thank you all for joining us today. And we do apologize for the technical difficulties on YouTube. We had to move it over to Zoom, but that's okay. It's okay. We still got through it. And thank you for joining us. And stay tuned for more from Humphrey House and We Ain't Divorcing channels. So that concludes this. Thank you guys so much. See you soon.